What's happening, YouTubers? It's been a little while. I was on a little vacation, so I'm back and doing some more videos. And while I was on vacation, this knife arrived in the mail. This is the Three Rivers Knives Viator slip joint. They sent this to me to check out and do a review on. They sent me some extra scales if I wanted to swap them out, and just kind of what comes in the pouch. You get some Loctite, warranty card, etc. So this is not my knife, it's theirs on loan, just to check out. Like I said, it came with these orange G10 and these natural jade G10 came on the knife. I didn't switch them. I liked the natural jade with the little orange backspacer. That was kind of a cool touch, I thought. So I left it alone. Carried it last, I don't know, 5-6 days, and have used it quite often. And I wanted to kind of give you my initial thoughts on this one. So let's go ahead and start real quick though with the basics, and we'll talk about the specs. Your overall length on this knife is 7 inches. It is 4 inches closed with a 3-inch blade. Your cutting edge is 2.75. With a 1-inch blade width, your blade thickness is 0.09. That's one of the things that I love about this knife, how thinly ground it is. It's so thin. Thin blade stock. Makes for an excellent slicer. It is CPM 154 steel with a 59 to 60 Rockwell hardness. Drop point blade with a flat grind, full flat grind, stone washed finished on that, and 1-inch wide handle. Excuse me, 0.39 inches thick, and then its width is 1 inch that way, and then the thickness is 0.39. So it's very slim, and it weighs 2.5 ounces. Very lightweight. So it is a very lightweight knife. It is a modern slip joint. This is kind of a thing I've been into lately, which is kind of cool. I did the I love the Kaiser Zip Slip. That's my favorite modern slip joint at the moment. And this one would have probably kicked that out if it wasn't for a few things. We'll get into that here in a minute. But this is, like I said, available in tons of different One of the things I really like about this knife is it's available in so many different configurations. You can get extra scales for it for pretty cheap. The knives start about 100 and... what do they start out for the G10 models? I think they're 130? 140. I was very close. You can get extra scales. I think the extra scales are probably $20 or something like that. Let's see what they are on the Three Rivers manufacturing website. I know Blade HQ is a dealer for these, and they have an exclusive one as well that has what do you call it? Micarta on it. So they're $15, so $15 for a replacement scale. So you can get, and they have like blue G10, natural orange, green, carbon fiber, probably a little bit more, red, white, all kinds of options. Like I said, you can get the micarta one only from Blade HQ. So very cool how they can switch all that stuff out. So I like how they've kind of taken this knife, this idea of a slip joint, but kind of made it very customizable and made it a kind of a modern knife that has a pocket clip and has G10 scales, and it uses CPM 154 steel, more modern steel than, let's say, a traditional knife like a GC, Beer Scout or something like that, that's going to use a 1095 high carbon steel. So let's go ahead and show you an in-pocket shot of this guy. It is a good size, almost perfect, really, in my eyes. But this is one area of improvement, in my opinion, is the pocket clip. It's way too, this is just a pair of Levi's, and it's very stiff. It's very hard to get on and off the pocket. I'm like yanking on that sucker. So I don't mind that it's not deep carry, but the fact that it's so difficult to get on and off is kind of a design issue, in my opinion. One of the things that I didn't like about the knife. And why don't we just do that? Why don't we get out what I didn't like? Didn't like the pocket clip at all, and I didn't like how stiff this back string is. It's very difficult to open. I tried it a bunch of different ways. I actually put a little nano oil in this to just kind of loosen it up. It was so stiff and kind of grimy almost. You can pinch it, but there's not a lot of blade to pinch. It doesn't have like an easy open slot like a lot of traditionals do. So they kind of gave you this thumb hole, right? Well, you can pinch it there and it works. But you can also kind of get your fingernail under there and get it open. And that's one way it works well for me. It does have a half stop and does have a unique back spring here. As you can see, it's kind of a two-piece back spring. So it's a little bit different than a traditional slip joint like I wouldn't call a zip slip a traditional, but it has a one-piece back spring. So just kind of a comparison for you. That's the other thing I didn't like. It's just very difficult to get you know, you're struggling to get out of your pocket, and then you're struggling a little bit to open it. Now, it's not bad. It's a slip joint. I don't expect it to fly open or anything, but comparison to this zip slip, which will open one and close one-handed, this is definitely a two-handed slip joint, which most slip joints are, but that's one thing that I would say needs some improvement, maybe less strong on the back spring, so it's a little bit easier to manipulate, because it can really be a chore to open. Now, the plus side there is it's going to have a very strong, it's not a lock, I want to say locking mechanism, but it's more sturdy than most slip joints like this. A little bit of pressure and you can move that on the zip slip. On the Viator, man, I mean, I can push on that. It's not going to shut. You have to give it a lot of pressure to make it shut. So I guess, you know, if there ever was such thing as a hard-use slip joint, this would be it. Okay, so that's really it that's bad. Everything else is great about it, and let's go ahead and talk about that. First thing that I love is, the first thing I wrote down when I wrote some notes for this review about what I liked about it is it's slicey. Man, this sucker came super sharp. It's got such thin blade stock. It's very thin behind the edge. What did I measure it? Well, let's just do a new measurement. It's very thin though behind the edge, and I used it to cut up a bunch of cardboard just to test it out, and I put a picture of my Instagram of that. A bunch of the cardboard I broke down with it. It's 0.0220 behind the edge. In fact, I bet I could even get it thinner than that. Yeah, 0.0200. Very thin behind the edge. They have it listed as 0.9. I think I had it at 0.85 on the blade stock. Let's see. 0.855 is what I've got the blade stock measuring at. So it's very thin. Very thin, very sharp, very slicey. Great for food prep. Like I said, it goes through cardboard like. Just flies through cardboard. Let me grab a piece. I've got just a ton of it down here when I do these tests, these videos. I like to have it on hand and be able to slice. Just, I mean, look at that. Just absolutely flies through cardboard. Great cutter. So, isn't that what knives are supposed to do is cut things? So this knife excels in this aspect. It's got that nice flat grind. It's got a very thin edge. The other thing that I really like is the handle is super comfortable. It's thin, but it's very ergonomic. It's not too thin. It has great ergonomics. I mean, it's super comfortable in the handle, in the hand. The clip, while not being great for retention, it's a little too stiff. It does not provide any hot spots, so that's good. I also like the fact that you can interchange these scales. I think that's fun. And you can actually do it without removing this pivot. You can change these scales over to the other colors if you want. I thought the natural G10 was pretty cool, so I left it alone. Or jade, or whatever they call it. I also like the fact that it's lightweight. It weighs less than 3 ounces, so it's a great EDC, and it's very slim. What it's good for is those that are in a restricted area that can't have a locking folding knife. That is one of the main reasons why slip joints still exist, why companies still make them. And for most of the EDC things I do, I don't necessarily need a locking knife, so this works good for me. And it's 139 bucks, made in the United States, in Massachusetts. That's a really good value. A CPM 154, made in the US, almost, it's a small production amount, kind of like a Chris Reeve knife company, whereas they do small production runs. Millet Knife's another one that comes to mind. That's a great price. So the price is good. The amount of extra scales is awesome. So I love the business model. If they just improved that clip and made that back spring a little less so strong, I think it would be nearly perfect. Now, what are some competitive offerings? You've got the zip slip, which I do prefer, basically because it's a one-hander opening and the pocket clip's way better. And the steel's a little bit better. Yeah, and it's titanium. I mean, it's a little bit nicer, and it's about the same price point. So, actually, I think the zip slip's a little bit more expensive. This is not a competitive offering, but just as a size comparison, the Benchmade Bug Out, the new Ranger green one, or the gray DLC, which I really like. And we'll do one more comparison to the Ferrum Mass Drop Gent. So it's a little bigger. So in between those sizes. So what I would love, and Three Rivers, I'm sure you're going to watch this video because you wouldn't have sent this knife to me otherwise. I would love, love, love this knife in a liner lock. Or, I mean, in a frame lock, nah, it'd be probably too much money. Do a liner locking knife of this exact knife. Do not change anything except for make it locking and make it same thin blade, same blade shape, everything. And this would be like a perfect EDC knife for me. A nice little liner lock, keeps it thinner in the handles. And I mean, a frame lock would be great, but you'd have to go titanium. That would drive the cost up. So if you can make it a liner lock and keep the handle shape and everything the same, you might thicken the handle just a little bit, obviously, for the liner lock. That's fine. And put it on some phosphorus bronze washers, and you could have a nice, this opening hole would be effective to open it, or to do the middle finger flick if you had it on washers or even bearings. Probably washers would be preferred with a non-flipper. I would buy a few of these knives. I would love it, because then you can change out the scales on it. I mean, it'd be awesome. So it's great the way it is, but the fact that it has such a stiff spring is going to turn a lot of people off, and that pocket clip needs to be, it's a little stiff. Other than that, fantastic, fantastic offering. I would love to see this in a liner lock, or even just lighten this spring up a little bit, and you know, we're probably in business there. So that's kind of my feedback on this knife. I think it's a fantastic offering. I think it's great to see modern slip joints for those that live in restricted. I mean, I carry this zip slip constantly, and it's, you know, I love that it's one-handed opening. You know, that's one thing I'm not a huge fan of slip joints, is that they're two-handed opening knives. So if you made this a liner lock on washers, it would be a one-handed opening, or if you just made this not so stiff somehow. I don't know if that would have to change the whole way your back spring is designed. I'm not sure, but there's no way you could open this one-handed. There's just no way. So that would be what I would like to see. I think it's a fantastic design. I'd love to see them produce this in a liner lock knife with the same kind of scale options. That would be fantastic. You could leave the same blade steel, same shape, everything, and you'd have like a perfect EDC knife on your hands. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up my thoughts on the Three Rivers Manufacturing Viator slip joint. Any questions or comments, leave them down below, and we'll see you in the next video.